My boyfriend fell for an unattractive, plus-sized woman with a net worth of hundreds of millions and demanded we break up. I said, I'm done pretending. The truth is, I'm an heiress to billions. My boyfriend scoffed, true love is worthless in the face of money. Later, when my true identity was revealed, my boyfriend cried loudly, kneeling and begging for my forgiveness. Sorry, my new boyfriend is handsome and assertive, and I'm busy. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. My boyfriend of 3 years suddenly broke up with me. Kevin, Grace, I'm sorry. My mom has a terminal illness, and I don't want to burden you. Let's break up. After saying that, Kevin cut off all contact with me. When I called, the number was out of service. When I went to his company, he had already resigned. And at his subsidized apartment, the place was completely empty. I was heartbroken. The way we broke up was like a cliched melodrama where the leads are deeply in love, only to be forced apart by money. I hadn't even told Kevin that for me to be burdened by money, it would probably take another lifetime. In reality, my family owned hundreds of millions, and I was a super wealthy multi-generational heir. Kevin was from a single-parent family and didn't have much money, so to protect his pride, I always kept a low profile around him. After graduating college, I bought a one-bedroom apartment smaller than my bathroom at home and told him I was renting it. Now that we'd broken up, I didn't want to live in that apartment anymore, so I packed my bags that very day and moved into my villa in Bellevue. I had just finished renovating this villa 6 months ago, originally planning to give it to Kevin as a birthday gift this year. But I didn't expect to run into Kevin shortly after entering the complex. He was arm in arm with an unattractive, plus-sized woman, roughly 3 times his size, her eyes narrowing to slits when she smiled, looking quite gleeful. Standing beside them, Brenda was wearing a floral dress, glowing with health, not looking like she had a terminal illness at all. I was a bit stunned, and then I heard Brenda gloat triumphantly, Brittany, your dad really agreed? Once my Kevin becomes a live-in son-in-law, he'll get that villa? The plus-sized woman immediately nodded, saying in a coarse voice, yes, my dad said it himself, how could it be fake? Brenda, I'm pregnant with Kevin's son, do you really think I'd lie to you? I looked at the woman's belly, feeling a strange pang of anguish. Kevin had sacrificed himself to this extent, all to cure his mom's illness? He was such a proud person. I walked towards Kevin. Kevin, actually, my dad owns countless buildings, Grandview belongs to my family, and our hotel chains are all over the country. If you want to be a live-in son-in-law, I can also satisfy that desire. Would you reconsider me? Kevin probably didn't expect to run into me here. He flinched, then immediately took the woman's hand. I'm sorry, Grace, I've wronged you. But and I are truly in love. Beside him, Brenda scoffed at me, Grace, Brittany's dad is in construction. His savings alone are upwards of $50 million. What do you have? Your $5,000 monthly salary, after rent, how much is left? How can you compare to Brittany? If you know what's good for you, stay away from my Kevin and don't interfere with his pursuit of a happy life. It finally dawned on me. Brenda, you don't have a terminal illness? What terminal illness? You're the one who has a terminal illness. I nodded, then looked at Kevin. So, you said your mom was dying, but in reality, you were cheating? And you went all out with the cheating, even having a child. I'm the type who's sometimes quite slow on the uptake. After parting ways with Kevin and his group, I went home, took a shower, changed into a new set of pajamas, and only started getting angry once I was lying in bed. After gnashing my teeth and cursing at Kevin and his mom for a while, I decisively opened WhatsApp and shared my experience of being cheated on with my best friend. My best friend's furious voice was almost deafening, even through the screen. How can Kevin be such a scumbag? Not daring to let you know he cheated, and even lying that his mom had a terminal illness? His mom is also a piece of work. I've never seen someone so willing to sell out her son for personal gain. Grace, we can't just let this slide. With my best friend fanning the flames, my anger also reached its peak. Right, we can't just let this slide. If I lost to that unattractive, plus-sized woman over anything else, I'd accept it. But losing to money? I refuse to accept it. My best friend sent a mischievous laughing emoji. Grace, I have an idea. Kevin wants to be a live-in son-in-law, right? I have a cousin, he's decent looking, and I'll go beg him later to pretend with you, to play the part of your family's live-in son-in-law. Heh. If Kevin knew you were a genuine billionaire, he'd be absolutely furious. Who could refuse to teach a cheating scumbag a lesson? I immediately raised both hands in agreement. An hour later, I received a reply from my best friend. It's settled. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., Park Lane Coffee, table 36. He'll be wearing a black suit. The next day, after processing my resignation at the company, I went to the Park Lane Coffee. The moment I walked in, I spotted the man at table 36. I decisively walked over. "Hello, uncle." When the man raised his gaze, I was startled. My best friend was too modest. If her cousin was decent looking, then no one in the world was. With his cool, refined features and perfect facial structure, every word describing aloof dignity and nobility could be applied to him. Pure as the breeze and bright as the moon, an unattainable beauty. He was definitely the male lead from a romance novel. Especially when he looked at me with those deep, profound eyes, I felt like I was about to fall right in. I raised my hand and smacked my forehead. After shaking myself awake, I immediately smiled. "Uncle, Chloe told you everything, right?" The man raised an eyebrow. Ugh, even that small gesture was ridiculously handsome. I decisively interpreted the man's as an affirmation. So I chuckled. "Uncle, playing my family's live-in son-in-law won't be hard. You just need to stand next to me and look handsome, and as for the props for the display of wealth, I'll provide everything. What do you think?" The man quietly watched me for a moment, then slowly nodded. "I think that works." After leaving the coffee shop, I took the man to a car dealership and decisively bought a Maybach. Since there were no cars in stock and I'd have to wait a few days to pick it up, I took the man to the private tailor I used to frequent before I started dating Kevin. Although the man's clothes didn't have brand logos, the fabric and tailoring were exquisite. It was clearly custom made. But since he was going to play my family's live-in son-in-law, I couldn't just do nothing, could I? Besides, I wanted to get a few custom-made outfits myself. I hadn't been there in 3 years, and the private tailor's staff had changed, but when the manager saw me, she still immediately greeted me, though her eyes were fixed on the man. Before the manager could speak, the man pointed at me. "This lady is paying the bill today." I glanced at the man, thinking he had a natural talent for being a live-in son-in-law. Of course, I didn't mind the man spending my money. "Bring out your catalog of designs, I'd like to order a few outfits." I looked at the man. "Uncle, pick 3 outfits for yourself. Price is not an issue." When the manager brought the catalog of designs, the man handed it directly to me. He had a faint smile on his face, which for a moment, was almost dazzling. "Just one. You pick it for me." I ordered 10 personal outfits for myself in one go, and 3 for the man. Finally, I took a taxi and dropped him off at his company's entrance. As I left, I glanced at the company logo. L Group. I know it, one of the top 20 publicly traded companies globally. Uncle isn't bad, he's a promising young man. After returning home, I finally saw the message my best friend had sent me. "Grace, sorry, don't go to the appointment. My cousin said something came up, and he probably can't make it." "Don't wait." I replied with an emoji. Don't worry, everything's taken care of. Once I pick up my car, I'm going to teach Kevin a lesson he won't forget." For the next 3 days, I just lazed around at home. I spent every day eating and sleeping and eating, until finally, on the 4th day, I got a call from the dealership telling me to pick up my car. The moment I stepped out, I heard that familiar voice. "Kevin, Brenda, isn't my family's car cool? My dad spent over $20 million to buy it." Well, wouldn't you know it, I ran into Kevin and his unattractive, plus-sized woman again. At that moment, the unattractive, plus-sized woman was standing in front of a black Maybach, pointing at it triumphantly, her expression reminding me of only one thing. There's a vast difference in class between the nouveau riche and the truly wealthy. And his mom? Don't even get me started, their eyes were wide with awe. His mom even ran up to touch the Maybach's car emblem. "Brittany, have you told your dad that after you get married, he should get Kevin a car too?" "Don't worry, I told him. My dad said Kevin can pick any car he wants, as long as it's under 10 million. I chose to pass by quietly. But being too beautiful always attracts attention. "Grace, why are you always haunting us?" Brenda looked at me, snorting. "Grace, my Kevin broke up with you already, have some shame, will you? I'm telling you, if you keep pestering my Kevin, I'll call the police." I rolled my eyes. "Brenda, do I look so unpicky? Why would I endlessly pester a cheating scumbag?" Brenda clearly didn't believe me. "Heh, Grace, who knows? You're used to being shameless, after all. I explicitly told you before, with your $5,000 salary, you were simply not worthy of my Kevin. My salary is 4 times yours every month, but you shamelessly refused to break up. Now that you know my Kevin is becoming a live-in son-in-law, who knows what dirty tricks you'll pull." I decided to teach this delusional old woman a lesson. I called security. This woman personally attacked me. As a resident of Bellevue, I have the right to ask you to remove her from my sight. Two brawny men over 6 feet tall lifted Brenda up, one on each side. Her legs flailed wildly. What are you doing? Mai is also a resident of Bellevue. Mai is her family's live-in son-in-law. You have no right to make me leave. Brittany, say something. Looking at the plus-sized woman's stance, I was prepared for a prolonged battle. To my surprise, she waddled over, grabbed Brenda, and gently reasoned with her. Mom, my dad believes in feng shui. The baby isn't 3 months old yet, so it's not suitable to announce it publicly. Don't spread around the news about Kevin being our live-in son-in-law, otherwise, my dad will be upset. Brenda immediately quieted down. Right. With a fawning smile, she looked at the security guards. Young men, please put me down. I'll walk myself. Brenda dragged Kevin away, not forgetting to glare at me as they left. As if to say, I'll be back. TSK, how submissive. I couldn't wait to see his mom's expression when she found out I was rich. Soon after, I picked up the car, and the salesperson drove me home. Sitting in the passenger seat of the Maybach, I received an unfamiliar call. Well, wouldn't you know it, it was Kevin. What do you want? Kevin was silent for a moment, then sighed. Grace, I know I've wronged you, but you can't demean yourself like this. Just spit it out. Gee. Grace, tell me the truth. Are you living in Bellevue now? Yes, I do. Grace, you're still young, you have a bright future ahead of you. Don't learn from those gold-digging women and get yourself a sugar daddy. Don't you know that makes me sad? I actually laughed, I was so angry. Until we broke up, I never knew he could be such a scumbag. Kevin, aren't you the one who's materialistic? What? It's fine if you love money, but not if I do. How can you be so hypocritical? And finally, stop acting all phony. You, a cheating scumbag, are sad? Go enjoy yourself with your unattractive, plus-sized woman. I hung up and blocked him, humming angrily as I looked out the window. The salesperson asked me, Miss, what kind of man would be so foolish as to? I sighed, oh, I can only blame myself for being too poor. The salesperson immediately shut up. But I felt his gaze held a hint of being wounded. Before the car even reached my driveway, I saw an acquaintance. Uncle was walking toward the unattractive, plus-sized woman's Maybach, then opened the car door and decisively sat inside. I was stunned. I opened my car door and knocked on his car window, then saw his equally surprised expression. You live here? Yes, I do, Uncle. With a complex expression, I said, Uncle, I thought you worked at Marcus. I didn't expect you to be a driver? The man was silent for a moment, then replied, yes. My face scrunched up. That unattractive, plus-sized woman isn't worthy of you being her driver, Uncle. Quit your job and come be my personal driver, a ceremonial position. Whatever she pays you, I'll pay you double every month. Point 2,000? You agreed to so little? Yes, I was in a bit of a difficult situation then. All right. I waved my hand grandly, I'll multiply it 50 times. To show my sincerity, I pulled out my phone, add me as a friend, and I'll transfer you the money. I'm lazy, so let's skip the contract. The man's WhatsApp profile picture was a completely black IMA. GE, and his WhatsApp name was simply L. My name is Grace, you can add any note you want. What's your name? The man directly sent his name. Marcus. That's a nice name. Thank you. At the same time, I transferred $100,000 to Marcus. The time to set things straight with Marcus by my side soon arrived. My best friend, the unassuming gossip expert, found out that Kevin was planning to propose to the unattractive, plus-sized woman at the hall this weekend. To show his sincerity, he had invited many college classmates. That day, I had Marcus put on his custom-tailored suit, then pick me up at my place at 5:30 p.m. Driving my newly registered Maybach, I arrived at the hall right on time. When I arrived, Kevin was proposing to the unattractive, plus-sized woman. He was wearing a black suit, holding a ring, and kneeling on one knee, looking outwardly presentable as he said, Brittany, I love you, I'll be good to you for the rest of my life. Will you marry me? The unattractive, plus-sized woman tearfully stretched out her hand. Kevin tried to put the ring on her middle finger, but it didn't fit, then switched to her ring finger, but it still didn't fit. I let out a pit of laughter, watching Kevin, with a strange expression, put the engagement ring on the unattractive, plus-sized woman's pinky finger. The two immediately embraced excitedly. Kevin, cradled in the unattractive, plus-sized woman's arms, looked small and submissive. The onlookers appropriately cheered, and I, with a cold smile, pulled Marcus's hand and walked straight in. I had been Kevin's girlfriend for 3 years, and everyone present could be considered our mutual friends. When they saw me walk in with a man, their chatter abruptly stopped. Kevin also quickly noticed the abnormality, his eyes fell on me, and he seemed a little incredulous. The unattractive, plus-sized woman beside him had an even more priceless expression, staring fixedly at Marcus beside me. Heh, what now? Surprised her own driver was being kept? I decisively took the only center seat available, where white roses were laid out, apparently prepared by Kevin for the unattractive, plus-sized woman. Kevin and the unattractive, plus-sized woman quickly walked over. Grace, what are you doing here? I smiled, linking arms with Marcus. My boyfriend is in a bad mood today, so I brought him to the hall to cheer him up. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Kevin, you've lost the right to dine here. I pointed to myself, because Gilded Hall belongs to my family. Kevin immediately looked at me with that helpless yet somewhat doting look. Grace, stop joking around. When I used to act petty while we were together, that look always made me helpless. But now, I just wanted to puke. I directly called the manager. 5 minutes later, the manager stood before me, respectfully. Young, what are your orders? I pointed at Kevin. Oh, tell him and the unattractive, plus-sized woman next to him to get out. Kevin's face changed, and he stepped forward to argue, but the unattractive, plus-sized woman beside him tugged at his arm, then whispered something to him while looking at Marcus beside me. Kevin immediately pursed his lips. Grace, is it worth degrading yourself like this just to get back at me? I pulled Marcus closer, tugging his tie to make him lean down. He's handsomer and stronger than you, every inch of him is more worthy than you. With that, I kissed him on the cheek. Kevin, can you get out now? Watching walk away, embracing the unattractive, plus-sized woman, I suddenly felt a little deflated. He was too weak to fight, he didn't even qualify as my opponent. I called for my dad's private jet and had it take me on a trip abroad. When I returned to Bellevue, things had changed. The unattractive, plus-sized woman was kneeling beside Marcus's leg, sobbing hysterically. Crying and wailing, she pleaded, Mr. Marcus, please don't fire my dad. If my mom finds out about this, she'll kill me. Probably out of disgust, Marcus even stepped back 2 paces. As for Kevin and his mom, they stood to the side, their faces absolutely priceless. My brain slowly started processing, followed by shock. So, unattractive, plus-sized woman, you're not a second-generation rich kid? Marcus looked at me and nodded faintly. I don't know if it was my imagination, but I thought he looked a little nervous. Yes, the driver's daughter. My lips twitched, and then I looked at Kevin and burst out laughing. So, you were going to be her family's live-in son-in-law, and that whole, they'll give you a luxury car when you get married thing, all went down the drain? Oh my God, I was laughing so hard tears were streaming down my face. Marcus beside me seemed to let out a sigh of relief, and a smile also appeared on his face. No chance. I was dying of laughter, so I quickly pulled out my phone and recorded a video to send to my best friend. Bad guys get their comeuppance. Kevin and his mom wanted him to be a live-in son-in-law, right? Guess what? They ran into scammers. Ha 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 ha. My best friend replied instantly. Ha 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 ha. So, who's the handsome guy next to the Maybach? Please introduce us. Isn't that your cousin? If my cousin were that handsome, would I have spent my childhood beating him up every day? I looked at Marcus, feeling a little embarrassed. So, who are you, sir? Yes, the owner of this car. Oh my. I was so mortified, I covered my face. He was clearly a genuine billionaire, and I'd mistaken him for a driver. I'm so sorry, so sorry. I truly meant it. It's all right. I felt even more embarrassed. So, about that $100,000, could you give it back to me? Marcus transferred the money directly back to me. Looking at his handsome face, I actually felt a little awkward. Mistaking him for someone else and then asking for the money back right in front of him. Out of politeness, I asked him, how about coming inside? I'll offer you some tea. But I was carrying my luggage, 9 out of 10 people would politely decline, right? Little did I know, Marcus happened to be in that 1/10. Alright. I opened the door to my villa. Before we even stepped inside, Brenda deliberately yelled, Kevin, even though Brittany lied to you about her identity, she's a genuinely good girl. Look at Grace. How long has it been since you broke up, and she's already latched onto a rich man. Now she's shamelessly inviting another man over. So, Brenda lost a rich daughter-in-law, and now she's seeking attention by targeting me, huh? I put my luggage on the floor and called the housekeeper. Soon after, the housekeeper and maids came out. Young, you're back. Young, you must be exhausted from your travels. The maids carried my luggage inside. Kevin and his mom's expressions immediately became even more priceless. It was the first time I realized a person's face could actually display all the colors of the rainbow. Just as I was ushering Marcus inside, Brenda suddenly walked over and grabbed my arm. Grace, is this your house? Look, Kevin and I ran into you with such difficulty. Aren't you going to invite us in for a bit? What nerve? Kevin's expression slightly changed. Mom, Grace just got back from her trip, let's not bother her. Oh, come on, how is this bothering her? Brenda stared at Marcus, implying something. You and Grace were first loves, and you almost got married. What kind of relationship do you two have that it's the same as with an outsider? Grace, isn't that right? Oh, now you know our relationship was special? Too bad, it's too late. But if they wanted to be even more humiliated, I didn't mind. I smiled and nodded. Brenda is right. Given my relationship with Kevin, I should indeed invite you in for a cup of tea. Uncle, please brew 2 cups of premium needle tea for our guests. Mr. Marcus and I will have our usual. In the living room, the atmosphere was a bit tense, until Kevin took a sip of the premium needle tea. His eyes lit up. This tea is amazing. Grace, it's even better than my former boss's tea. I smiled, held up 3 fingers, then 10 fingers. It's nothing special, just around this much. Kevin exclaimed, 300,000? His mom was dumbfounded. Oh my God, Grace, your family is actually this rich? Just then, the housekeeper brought out 2 more cups of aged tea, placing one in front of me and one in front of Marcus. He picked up his teacup, took a delicate sip, and immediately smiled. Truly tribute poor tea. Kevin and his mom exchanged glances, not understanding. Marcus curled his lips into a smile. Over 10 million per kilogram, I presume. Brenda's face turned livid. I gave him a disapproving glance. Don't say such things. My dad always taught me to keep my wealth hidden. Normally, I don't even tell people I'm a super wealthy multi-generational heir. But I was lucky enough to meet a good person. See, my ex-boyfriend right here has a noble character and especially doesn't disdain the poor or covet the rich, so I wasn't bullied. Praised by me, Kevin and his mom immediately broke into smiles. I sighed again, oh, how unsophisticated I was. Back then, I even tried to bribe my ex-boyfriend with money, telling him my family owned hundreds of millions, but he decisively rejected me. From my ex-boyfriend, I learned a valuable lesson: true love cannot be measured by money. The smiles on their faces immediately froze. I looked at Brenda with a sincere look in my eyes. Brenda, do you know? Originally, I planned to give this villa to Kevin as a birthday gift, but unfortunately. However, don't worry, Brenda, I'm a person who knows my boundaries. When a breakup happens, it's final. I will draw a clear line with Kevin and absolutely will not disrupt his relationship with his fiancée. Brenda immediately stood up and inspected the entire first floor of the villa, her eyes filled with heartache. Kevin also quickly stood up. Just as his mom was about to say something, Kevin already pulled her back. Grace, you've suffered injustice lately, I will definitely make things right for you. Kevin pulled his mom and turned to leave. As they reached the villa's entrance, I faintly heard him say, Mom, don't interfere in this. I understand, Grace, I'll coax her back. Coax? That word made me sick to my stomach, and I couldn't help but shiver. Just then, Marcus beside me said, Grace, Kevin isn't the right person for you. I was stunned for a moment, then laughed. You misunderstood. Of course I know a scumbag like him could never be a suitable match for me. I was blind before, but now I'm sober. As I spoke, I called for the maids, telling them to throw away the slippers Kevin and his mom had worn and the teacups they'd used. Even the spots they'd sat and stepped on had to be disinfected with alcohol. Marcus looked at me and chuckled. I subconsciously asked him, what's so funny? He pointed to his face. Worried someone kissed me and ran, and wouldn't take responsibility for me. My face suddenly flushed crimson, and I even stammered my words. So sorry, that was truly a misunderstanding. I thought you were my best friend's cousin. He raised an eyebrow slightly. So, if it were someone else, you would have kissed them too? Of course not. I quickly stood up to explain, if you weren't so handsome, how could I have kissed you so easily? I'm telling you, Marcus, Grace, am not that casual a person. After saying that, I felt even more inappropriate. Even the housekeeper and maids in the room were secretly laughing. My face felt like it was about to explode. Marcus also chuckled. Grace, sorry for disturbing you today. Let's find a time for me to treat you to dinner. With that, he stood up and left. Behind me, The housekeeper remarked. Young, this Mr. Marcus is quite good. I pouted. He's all right. Just billions of times better than Kevin. Having just returned fr. My trip, I took a shower and started catching up on sleep. I didn't wake up until past 2 a.m. I propped a cushion behind my back and started scrolling through my phone. Kevin had sent me 99 plus messages. I skimmed a few. Grace, I was blind. I was fooled. I truly thought my mom had a terminal illness then, which is why I swallowed my pride and got together with that unattractive, plus-sized woman. I never expected her to be a scammer. Grace, she isn't even fit to carry your shoes. I swear I'll never do something like this again. Can you forgive me? Well, wouldn't you know it, now that he knew I lived in a villa, he came crawling back begging for forgiveness. Why didn't I ever realize this guy was such a manipulative jerk before? I replied with a see ya emoji. Kevin immediately called. He had changed to a new number again. The moment I answered, Kevin's excited voice came through the phone. Grace, you finally responded to me. Grace, have you forgiven me? I somewhat regretted being too subtle. I should have replaced the see ya emoji with a pile of trash emoji. Forgive? Not in this lifetime. Cheating men deserve to be struck by lightning. Kevin continued. Grace, I knew you'd forgive me. After all, we shared so many beautiful memories, I'll never forget. Listening to Kevin reminisce about our past, I felt a wave of nausea. I simply put my phone on silent by my pillow, then picked up my tablet and started binge watching a show. I accidentally clicked on a short angsty romance drama, 10 episodes in total. Though a bit cheesy, it still made me cry buckets. I cried and wiped my tears, even blowing my nose for good measure. I picked up my phone and, well, wouldn't you know it, Kevin still hadn't hung up. I turned the volume back on. Kevin was pretending to be deeply emotional. Alright, Grace, don't cry. I know you still love me. Can we just blame all the past on me, alright? I swear I'll be twice as good to you from now on. You mean twice as good to my money? Right? I didn't want to chat with him for another second. With a snap, I hung up the phone. Before, you looked down on me. Now, you can't reach my level. For a while, Kevin didn't harass me. I thought he was completely gone. To my surprise, on my 24th birthday, just as I drove my Maybach out, planning to pick up my best friend to celebrate, I saw Kevin and his mom. One was holding a large teddy bear, and the other was carrying a cake. It's worth mentioning that Kevin's dark circles were so heavy he looked like a panda. When they saw me, both immediately perked up. Grace, happy. Grace, every year we used to spend your birthday with you, let's celebrate together this year too. I stared at Kevin with a half smile. Wrong. Before, it wasn't we who celebrated with me, at most, it was just you. Brenda had always disliked me, so on my birthdays, she always played ignorant, never even sending a single message. Moreover, whenever Kevin and I ate out, his mom would find all sorts of excuses to call him back home before we even finished our meal. The fact that Kevin and I remained chaste for 3 years? His mom contributed a lot to that. Brenda's expression was a bit awkward. Heh, Grace, those were accidental before. It's just that I wasn't feeling well. I continued to smile at his mom. I stared her into embarrassment. She rubbed her hands together and pointed to the cake. Grace, about this cake. I brushed a wisp of hair behind my ear, carelessly. Sorry, I only eat a cake from the Spoon Bakery. Kevin pulled his mom aside. Then my bear. I raised an eyebrow, and before I could even speak, Kevin sheepishly tossed it into the trash can. Sorry, Grace, such an ordinary bear really isn't worthy of you. He was about to say something else when a tall, slender figure suddenly emerged from the Maybach next to us. Marcus looked a bit dusty and travel-worn. His cool, handsome face had some stubble, which somehow made him inexplicably sexy. He walked CTLY towards me, completely ignoring Kevin and Brenda. After tapping his finger on the car window, he raised an eyebrow somewhat nonchalantly. Grace, it's your birthday, and you're only inviting your best friend. Haven't you considered that you're neglecting your boyfriend? I felt like I'd been thunderstruck. Boyfriend? Since when? Weren't he and I just putting on a show? Kevin's expression also changed slightly, but he didn't speak. Instead, Brenda jumped out and said, Don't talk nonsense. Grace is my Kevin's girlfriend, what concern is it of yours? Even if you're rich, you can't just make things up, can you? Marcus looked at Kevin with a half smile. Whether and I have a relationship or not, just ask your son, wouldn't you know? Kevin's lips were tightly pressed together. I knew him, that gesture indicated his nervousness. He looked at me and coaxed me in a pitiful tone, Grace, I was wrong about what happened before, and I apologize. I swear I'll be twice as good to you from now on. Stop making a fuss, I'll even let bygones be bygones regarding you and this man. Can we go back to how things were before? I always used to fall for that. But now I wanted to slap him. Especially those 4 words, let bygones be bygones, they really took the cake. So inspired that my hatred and anger completely dissipated. I was too blind in the past. This man wasn't just unworthy of my love, he wasn't even worthy of my hatred. I smiled and looked at Marcus. Honey, neglecting you was my mistake. How should I compensate you? And so, I followed Marcus to his house. It had the same layout as my villa, but his house had a gray and white minimalist style. Although there were no maids, it was impeccably clean. I sat on the sofa, and he poured me a cup of hot water. I asked him, do you have someone come clean? No. Marcus smiled. I'm a bit of a neat freak, I don't like outsiders in my house, so I clean it myself. So, I'm not an outsider, then? My face flushed a little. Think. ING about him saying he cleaned it himself. I couldn't help but imagine him in an apron, kneeling on the floor, wiping the floor. My face flushed even more. I took a big gulp from my cup. A hand covered my forehead. Are you hot? I quickly shifted a step to the side. Why yes, a little. Oh no, I felt even hotter. Marcus chuckled lightly. Sorry, I've been on a business trip recently and just got back today. It's not that I didn't want to send you messages, I just never knew what to send. Sending I'm on a business trip so I can't come find you, good morning, good evening, how's the weather felt too cliched. Every time I pulled out my phone and stared at your profile picture for ages, I'd eventually just give up. Marcus rubbed his brow and sighed softly. Grace, I really don't know what to do with you. I didn't understand how I had left Marcus at a loss, but I knew my heart was pounding wildly at that moment. He smiled at me again. Ultimately, I'm this helpless because I don't have a proper title. Grace, I rushed back today specifically to ask you at this special time, will you make it official? Oh my face and body felt like they were on fire. What was with this man? He didn't make any overly forward moves, yet he was so flirtatious. But on this matter, he showed no intention of backing down. He took a step forward and looked down at me. Grace, give me an answer. I. What answer could I possibly have? Of course, it was to nod vigorously and quickly agree. Marcus lifted his arms and hugged me. I could hear his strong heartbeat. As fast as mine. Grace, I'm so happy. After a while, Marcus finally released me. Wait for me, I'm going to take a shower and change, then I'll celebrate your birthday with you. MHM. Not knowing what to say, I nodded like a hamster. Soon, I heard the sound of water upstairs, and I quickly sent a text message to my best friend. You should leave later, something came up and delayed me, probably about 30 minutes. My best friend asked what delayed me. I sent a shy emoji, my boyfriend. Not, right? Don't worry. It's the one next to the Maybach. Alright, then take your time. Half an hour probably isn't enough. Marcus was definitely the type who was stunning at first glance, and even more so on the second and third. My best friend was completely stunned after getting into his car. She kept tugging my sleeve and winking at me. He's so handsome, oh my, just like a movie star. My best friend wasn't exaggerating at all. I felt a little smug. Of course, my taste isn't bad, is it? My best friend rolled her eyes in disdain, clearly referring to Kevin. My best friend then asked me to tell her the story of Marcus and me. The drive was still half an hour, so I told it to her like a story. My best friend ended up more excited than I was. So, Grace, I'm the matchmaker for you and Mr. Marcus? Grace, send a cash gift envelope. I hadn't even sent a cash gift envelope yet when Marcus handed one to me from the front. It was quite thick. It was prepared a long time ago. My best friend gave him a thumbs up. Smooth move. Marcus had meticulously planned my birthday celebration today. When we returned home, it was exactly 9:30. My best friend couldn't wait to call me. She went on and on, praising Marcus with a long, detailed review. Finally, she summarized. Grace, I always felt Kevin wasn't good enough for you, but you insisted on wasting your time on him. Now it's good, you've finally met someone truly exceptional. Grace, this one's a keeper, you two absolutely have to make it work. Hearing's name, I felt nothing at all, neither disgusted nor sad. But when I thought of Marcus, my heart felt as sweet as if it were dipped in honey. The next morning, Kevin called me. I hesitated for a moment before answering. Grace, were you happy yesterday? Kevin's voice sounded incredibly haggard, anyone who didn't know would think he was on his deathbed. Yes, I was happy. PY. My best friend and Marcus were with me, and I had a great time. That's good. Grace, is there really no hope for us anymore? No. I said firmly, Kevin, let's stop contacting each other. Whether you find your delusional old woman or not, it has nothing to do with me. Kevin's voice seemed to catch. Grace, we loved each other so much before, how did it come to this? Love expressed too late is worthless. I rolled my eyes. Kevin then said, Grace, I haven't been doing well lately. I haven't been eating or sleeping properly, and I keep making mistakes at work. My boss was unhappy and fired me. It certainly sounded terrible. I burst out laughing. What goes around comes around, scumbags get their just desserts. After a brief silence, Kevin asked, Grace, could you lend me some money? My mom fainted before she even got home yesterday. I took her to the hospital, and it's late-stage lung cancer. I laughed even harder. Kevin, your words came true, your mom really has a terminal illness. Congratulations. I hung up the phone. I sent Kevin a text saying don't contact me again and then blocked him everywhere. If hadn't asked me for money, I might have felt a little pity for him, but he immediately asked for money? Sorry, I'm not a patsy. I have no obligation or responsibility to help your mother. I pulled open the curtains, stretched, and breathed in the fresh air. Morning. Marcus's voice came from across the way. My movements froze. I saw him standing on his balcony, wearing deep blue loungewear, smiling, his eyes on me filled with warm sunshine. I touched my messy hair and quickly scurried away. Marcus called me again. Come over for breakfast. I cooked tonkatsu today. Of course, I chose to go. Tanet's house, eating his ramen, I couldn't bring myself to look at him. After I finished the soup, Marcus collected the bowls to wash them. Wearing a plaid apron, he moved skillfully, his back incredibly handsome. As soon as he finished washing, I turned to look at the unopened television in his house. I frantically searched for the remote control. Marcus, I want to watch TV. Okay, what channel do you want to watch? Anything. Marcus really did pick anything. On the channel he turned to, the male and female leads were passionately kissing. I felt a bit awkward. He immediately changed the channel. This was even better. The male and female leads were wrestling in bed. I felt even more awkward, and a little hot. I reached out to snatch the remote control from Marcus but grabbed his hand instead. I instinctively looked at him, and he was looking at me too. Marcus dropped the remote control. He bent down slightly and cupped my face. Before he could even lean in, I quickly covered his mouth with mine. Oh dear, did I seem too forward? After dating Marcus, I realized that before, I wasn't dating, I was dating loneliness. He was definitely a perfect boyfriend. He could clean, he could cook, and even when he was away on business, he would report his whereabouts regularly. If I called him, he would always answer, even in a meeting. 3 months into our relationship, he had already started planning our future home. He took me to see new developments, we decided on a renovation style, and he bought the house outright, putting it directly in my name. The name Kevin, if I didn't deliberately try to recall it, I would have completely forgotten it. But I didn't expect him to appear before me again. He was wearing clean clothes and looked noticeably thinner than before. He stood by my car, smiling, and tapped on my car window. I felt current Kevin was a bit creepy and didn't dare to open the car door. He wasn't in a hurry, he patiently tried to persuade me. His gaze was like he was possessed. Grace, open the car door. There's something I want to tell you. I was even more afraid to open it, reaching out to roll up the car window, which was open by a third. As the window started to move, he suddenly reached his hand in and fiercely bed my hair. Grace, you won't even open the door for me. You have money now, so you look down on me and my mom, huh? Kevin's voice was terrifying, like he had gone mad. I was so scared I quickly tried to pull his hand away. He yanked harder. If it weren't for you, would I have been fired by the company? You know who the CEO of L Group is, right? It's Marcus. He was jealous that I was your ex-boyfriend, so he fired me. And if it weren't for you upsetting my mom, would she have gotten a terminal illness? If you hadn't refused to lend us money, would my mom have jumped off a building in despair? Grace, you owe my mom a life. Kevin, you're really sick. I don't know where I found a small knife, but I quickly slashed his hand with it. He cried out in pain and released his grip. I seized the chance to roll up the car window. Kevin turned and started banging his head against my car window, making it bloody. I tried to drive away, but he blocked my car, then took a few steps back and knelt down. While kneeling, he repeatedly knocked his head on the ground, seemingly muttering something. I couldn't hear clearly, so I opened the window slightly and finally made it out. Grace, I was wrong, Please forgive me, okay? I promise I'll never cheat again. Can we go back to how things were? I called 911 and then 988. By the time Marcus arrived, Kevin had just been put into the police car. He hugged me tightly, trembling all over. Even his voice was a little incoherent. Grace, it's good you're okay, good, it's good you're okay. Nestled in Marcus's arms, my heart felt incredibly soft. Marcus, you're not getting any younger, let's get married. He paused, then smiled helplessly. Grace, can you leave proposals to me? Do you want all the preparation for my proposal ceremony to go to waste? Alright, then I'll pretend I didn't hear you say that. Although I wasn't injured, Marcus was still worried and accompanied me to the hospital. On the way back, he received a call from the police. The police said the hospital's evaluation concluded that Kevin had schizophrenia, and they were taking him to a psychiatric hospital for mandatory treatment. Marcus took the phone and made the decision for me. Yes. I will cover all his treatment expenses for the rest of his life. He intended for Kevin to stay in the psychiatric hospital for life. Marcus hung up the phone and looked at me. I'm sorry, I took matters into my own hands, but with someone like him, I couldn't risk it. I kissed Marcus. I love how you handled it. As for the proposal, when will it be? Marcus smiled with great affection. That's a secret. I won't even tell my precious member. Sighed, Mr. Marcus, L Group's stock price has plummeted recently. The issue of you ignoring your members' feelings has already hit trending topics on major media outlets. Mr. Marcus, what should we do? Marcus rubbed his temples. What else can we do? Whatever they want to know, I'll tell them everything. The biggest secret, I can't keep it hidden anymore. Actually, the day Grace mistook him for Uncle was not their first encounter. That ungrateful little thing probably couldn't even remember who he was. Who am I? My name used to be Marcus, and I lived in the same Maplewood as her maternal grandmother. When I was 7, I was the king of the kids in the Maplewood. She wasn't even half a year old, couldn't even walk. But this little girl had a keen eye. Lying in her stroller, those big round eyes just stared at me. She knew I was handsome too. Alright, the great little lord, will be magnanimous and hold her. But as soon as I held her, her diaper leaked poop, getting it all over my hand. During that time, steamed pumpkin became my eternal pain. Just seeing it would instinctively make me nauseous. I, the great little lord, swore to stay far away from Grace, that menace. I avoided her for less than 3 days before giving up on that idea. She always looked at me with her round eyes, filled with longing, clearly wanting my attention. I was 7. I wouldn't stoop to bickering with this half-year-old toddler. So I'd hold her, tease her, pinch her. Not even a week later, I noticed Grace was getting a bit too bold. When I held her, she would reach out to other kids. When I teased her, she'd smile at other kids. When I pinched her, she wasn't happy either, screaming and crying at a pitch that could rival American. Wasn't I handsome enough? I, the great little lord, was angry, but not flustered. I could handle all the kids in Maplewood, how could I not handle this little girl? As long as I teased her enough, Grace would definitely cling to me. I even temporarily gave up my position as king of the kids to become Grace's full-time bodyguard. Aside from studying and sleeping, wherever Grace was, I was too. The elders in Maplewood would tease me. Little, you're so young and already guarding your wife? I knew what a wife was, of course. Grandma was Grandpa's wife. She cooked for Grandpa every day, and Grandpa would just tease his birds. I looked at Grace's chubby little face. I thought, once I raised this little girl, it wouldn't be bad if she cooked for me. So I nodded earnestly, yes, a man guards his own wife. 2 months later, I lost my wife. Grace went home with her mom, and my little wife was gone. The day she left, I sat alone on the steps of Maplewood, gazing up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. The little rascals who followed me came over and asked, Marcus, what's wrong? I shook my head. You wouldn't understand my pain. After all, a treasure like a wife wasn't something everyone had. Without, I became much more brooding than before. Elders often praised me for being calm and sensible, but they had no idea I was being forced to grow up. Fortunately, during the new, Grace's family came back to Maplewood. The little girl had grown taller, toddling around in a small cotton coat, her chubby face like caramel canned. Why, especially endearing. But she wobbled around the other children in Maplewood and actually stumbled into a 2-year-old boy. Unbelievable. I went to pick her up, my face stern. She was so scared she burst into tears. I quickly tried to comfort her. Grace, I'm your Marcus Gidge, don't you recognize me? Her little face crumpled. My mom laughed from beside me. Marcus, you scared Grace. Give a smile. Alright, I flashed a grin. Grace immediately cried even louder. Don't let her small size fool you, she was quite strong. She cried and struggled so much I couldn't even hold her. Grace's mom quickly took her from my arms. I looked at my empty arms, a little annoyed. But what else could I do? Aside from forgiving her, what else could I do? For the next 5 years, Grace's family would only return to Maplewood for holidays. When she was 5, I was nearly 12. I was long past the age of messing around with a bunch of little kids. I stood alone on the mountain peak, they couldn't understand my level. But there were still times when I was pulled down from my pedestal. 5-year-old Grace especially loved playing house. A group of little rascals in Maplewood were assigning roles. I sat under a sycamore tree with a book, maturely observing. Until pulled a little boy over and declared, "You're the daddy, I'm the mommy, and he's our baby." That's when I couldn't sit still anymore. I put down my book, stood up, and walked over to Grace, looking down at her. "What about me?" she said in a sweet, childish voice. "You can be the grandpa." I bribed the little boy with a caramel candy to be my grandpa, and I played daddy with great enthusiasm among the group of children. That evening, fireworks started in Maplewood. The dazzling fireworks illuminated Grace's little face, making it especially bright. I secretly made a wish. Next time Grace came to Maplewood, I would still play daddy. And I'd tell her, "We don't need a grandpa, having another son would be fine." My dream was shat. Teared a bit quickly. My mom was diagnosed with lung cancer, already in the late stages when discovered. The day my mom told me the results, she looked at me with complex eyes for a long time, then said, "If your grandparents hadn't passed away 2 years ago, I would never have let him see you," before making a phone call. She called the man named Marcus. That's when I learned I had a father. I don't know what happened between my mom and dad, but one never married, the other never married, yet they never became a legally married couple. But I knew they loved each other. The day my dad rushed to the hospital room, dusty and weary, he stood at the door, staring at my mom. Before he could speak, tears streamed down his face. "Eleanor, have I finally found you, or have I lost you forever?" After that, although my mom actively cooperated with the doctors for treatment and often smiled, it couldn't hide the fact that her health was deteriorating day by day. In less than 3 months, my mom was gone. She left me 3 inheritances. First, the house in Maplewood. Second, a message, "Marcus, your mother was too stubborn in the past, which is why I missed so much. Now your mother understands, life is only so long, happiness is the most important thing, so Marcus, if you find a girl you like, find a way to marry her." Third, a new name, Marcus. The day my mom was cremated, I looked at my dad and suddenly realized that he had grown so many gray hairs without me noticing, as if he had aged 20 years overnight. I then thought of my mom's words, and Grace's face unconsciously appeared in my mind. But after that, I never ran into Grace in Maplewood again. Firstly, Grace's maternal grandparents moved out of Maplewood, and secondly, my time to return to Maplewood became incredibly scarce. Because wasn't just a new name. He was also the eldest grandson of the L family. At that time, the L family patriarch was seriously ill, and the family was already unstable. My appearance caused an even greater uproar. My dad was the eldest son of the L family. By rights, the largest share of the L family's stock should have been passed to him, but my dad had remained single and showed no desire to marry, so his second and third uncles' branches of the family automatically excluded him from being the biggest contender, as they both had sons. But when my dad left and then returned, good heavens, he had a son. 12 years old, and so handsome, clearly a low-key prodigy. How could his second and third uncles not panic? The situation of 2 against 1 immediately turned into a joint effort, trying to push my dad out of the heir's position. I was caught in the middle. Aside from becoming even more outstanding, I had no other choice. Every day, I was forced to grow up under immense pressure. I wasn't necessarily desperate for victory, I just didn't want to lose. Initially, I still often thought of Grace, because her chubby little face was truly healing. Slowly, gradually, her image in my mind became less and less frequent, more and more blurry. By the time I became an adult, I could only remember a little girl named Grace who, in her childhood, desperately wanted to marry me. 25 years old. It took me a full 13 years to finally establish myself completely within the L family. I defeated all the enemies who stood against me. Then, I began to restructure and transform L Corporation. I established L Group. It took another year to successfully list L Group on the stock exchange, and in less than a year, L Group became one of the top 20 publicly listed companies globally. 27 years old. All sorts of voices began to emerge around me, suggesting I should seriously consider my lifelong matters. Whenever this topic came up, the first person I thought of was that little girl named Grace. Many people fell in love with me, but only she, out of everyone who loved me, was memorable enough for me to remember. I used my connections to find Grace's current home address and obtained her ID photo. I had never seen an ID photo where someone smiled so brightly. That little girl's eyes were like the sun, so dazzling that they immediately made me beam. I thought, a girl with such good taste deserved to be beautiful. It would be a pity not to win her over to be my wife. But's family background was not inferior to mine. She was so adorable and an only child, so she must have been cherished like a treasure. What exactly should I do to win this sweet girl? I searched online. Opinions varied. 3 words, not reliable. So I invested heavily and enrolled in a class for ideal husbands. As the saying goes, if you want to keep your wife, you must first keep her stomach happy. After half a year of study, I had mastered the essence of the 8 cuisines. As a future husband, I could easily ensure a different cuisine for all 7 days of the week. I was very pleased with myself and decided to find an opportunity to stand before Grace again. I pulled some strings and connected with Grace's mom. She liked me very much and agreed to help me arrange a blind date between Grace and me. I was very confident about the blind date outcome. It would surely happen naturally, and perhaps we could even get married directly. However, before I even got to the date, Grace called me. On the phone, Grace's voice was soft, sweet, and obedient. She started with, "Mr." She made me completely speechless. When she was little, she used to sweetly call me Marcus Gidge, but after only 20 years apart, she'd aged me up. What shocked me even more was that Grace's first call was just an appetizer. Her second sentence was, "Mr. Sorry, but I have a boyfriend." This ungrateful little thing, wasn't she always saying she wanted to marry me? At that moment, I felt infinitely frustrated. In business, I never went into battle unprepared. So, when it came to Grace, I was also used to preparing in advance. But I forgot that some things require a sure W. While others are simply a matter of fate. That day, I stared at Grace's photo for a long time and finally, I chose to delete it. I told myself, "Marcus, you are a mature man now. Some things, you need to learn to let go of." I thought I had probably let go. The reason I rejected all blind dates and beautiful women introduced to me was because I enjoyed my life as a bachelor. Until after we parted ways in Maplewood, I truly reunited with Grace for the first time. In the Park Lane coffee, Grace smiled sweetly at me. "Hello, Uncle." I looked up at her and clearly saw the surprise and admiration in her eyes. Then, she smacked herself on the forehead right in front of me. "Uncle, Chloe must have told you everything about my situation, right?" Grace smiled even more sweetly, with a hint of slyness. "Uncle, playing my live-in son-in-law isn't hard. You'll mainly just need to stand by my side and look handsome. As for the flashy props for showing off wealth, I'll provide them all. What do you think?" Although I was still somewhat confused, I heard the words live-in son-in-law very clearly. This little girl, 9 times out of 10, had mistaken me for someone else. I was a little excited, but I didn't show it. Looking at Grace, she looked more and more like a little rabbit willingly jumping into my arms. I told myself again, "Marcus, you are a mature man now. If you can't pick something up and put it down, then don't put it down. First, figure out what Grace wants to do, then gradually make her mine, completely." I slowly nodded. "I think it works." Soon, I subtly probed and found out why Grace needed to find that uncle to put on a show. Her boyfriend of 3 years had actually broken up with her, snobbish and materialistic, saying he'd found a shortcut in life and was going to be a live-in son-in-law. Grace was furious, which was why she thought of hiring an actor to expose the jerk. Knowing the truth, my mood was quite complicated. On one hand, I wanted to thinking the jerk deserved it. On the other hand, I was nervous and anxious, worried that Grace's actions might mean she still had feelings for the jerk. However, no matter what, there was one thing I had to admit. And that was, being a live-in son-in-law felt really good. Grace took me to the car dealership. Grace gave me clothes to wear. Grace even personally hailed a taxi to take me to the L Group. That afternoon, during a company meeting, I thought of Grace and couldn't help but smile. This scared several department managers, making their speech falter. Look what I'd done. I had to deeply reflect on myself. I called the department managers individually, approved half a month of vacation for them, and had my assistant book their plane tickets for an overseas vacation with their families. Unexpectedly, the managers burst into tears of heartbroken grief in front of me. "Mr. Marcus, from now on, take care." Once they left, I asked my assistant what they meant. The assistant said, "People have feelings. They've followed you for so many years, Mr. Marcus, of course, they'd be reluctant to resign suddenly." Resign? Go, tell HR to hold their resignations. A few days later, I ran into Grace again. At the time, I was about to drive my Maybach out. Seeing, I was also surprised. Aside from the surprise, I couldn't help but feel a little nervous. I worried I might lose my right to marry into her family because of this. Who knew Grace mistook me for the driver for the delusional old woman's family? Thinking of my driver's daughter, I fell into silence again. It couldn't be such a coincidence, could it? Grace's jerk ex-boyfriend's face would probably hurt doubly then. Next, Grace, being stingy with her words, hired me for 100,000 yuan to be her driver, and a part-time one at that. To avoid making her suspicious, I accepted the payment she gave me. It was only 100,000 yuan. Once we got married, all my family assets would be hers. I felt like I had been poisoned by why something called Grace. I'm not someone who enjoys checking my phone often. But after that, I started checking my phone more and more frequently. Each time, I'd stare at her profile picture for a long time, hoping she'd text me privately. But there was nothing. Even within the company, rumors started circulating. Everyone was privately saying that their Mr. Marcus was in love. In love? That's a good word. I immediately called finance. This month, all employees' bonuses would be increased by 10%. I waited, and finally received a call from Grace. She wanted to take me to show them up. Her jerk ex-boyfriend was going to propose to Brittany at the hall. I put on the custom-tailored suit Grace bought for me and took Grace to the hall right on time. Honestly, I thought the jerk and Brittany were truly a perfect match. His meek appearance made me want to wish him and Brittany a long and happy life together, never to be separated. Finally, Grace pulled me over and sat directly in the center seat. The jerk quickly approached, feigning concern. But it was thanks to his pretense that Grace linked her arm through mine and said I was her boyfriend. The jerk told Grace to stop messing around, and his doting gaze made me want to punch him, but I restrained myself. Because today was Grace's main event. She called the manager and told the jerk to leave. The jerk's expression was priceless. He seemed to want to argue, but Brittany pulled him away. I knew why. Brittany had seen me. After she said something, the jerk immediately gave up the entanglement. But even as he was leaving, he still managed to be obnoxious. "Grace, is it worth it for you to humble yourself like this just to get back at me?" I was about to gag when Grace pulled my tie down. A scent wafted from her, not from any perfume, but it set my mind racing with desire. Then, she kissed my cheek. That smacking sound. It was so lovely. I thought, she's kissed me, so our relationship should be able to take a step further, right? But then she left the country the next day. The scenic photos and food pictures she posted on her social media feed. I could guarantee she had forgotten she even had a boyfriend like me. I was a little annoyed. But what else could I do? Of course, forgive her, albeit reluctantly. Initially, I had thought the truth about Brittany's mother's pretense of wealth should be discovered by Grace herself. Because that moment of satisfaction, no one else could give her. But I didn't expect Brittany's family to be so brazen. My business trip was postponed last minute, allowing me to witness Brittany's mother's pretentious display. My driver, usually so honest and unassuming around me, entered my house like he owned the place, then sat on the sofa. Brittany followed closely and sat on the other side. "Kevin, Auntie, it's not your first time here, make yourselves at home." I sat in my study, watching the real-time surveillance footage, a vein pulsing in my temple. The act continued. The driver patted his potbelly. "Kevin, when you and Brittany get married, this house can be your marital home." Kevin's mom was very excited. "Then the name on the title?" "Of course, it'll be changed to Kevin and Brittany." Exactly, my dear in-law. Our Kevin marrying into your family truly is a blessing in 3 lifetimes. After listening to Kevin's mom's endless flattery, I couldn't bear it anymore. I changed into a clean set of clothes and slowly walked downstairs. I watched as Brittany and the driver's gaze shifted to me, slowly turning to horror. Finally, I poured them a glass of warm water and smiled at them. "Get out." They scrambled out of the villa. I tidied the room, thoroughly disinfecting it before heading out. Before I even got into the car, Brittany knelt before me. She was wailing when Grace returned. Oh ho, the secret of the wealthy identity couldn't be hidden anymore. I told myself. Marcus, don't panic when things happen. The richer you are, the more perfectly matched you are with Grace. Soon, I felt what it meant to be consumed by longing. After visiting Grace's house that day, I went on a business trip. In a foreign land, I thought of Grace every day. I would frequently open our chat page and type messages to her. Have you eaten? Are you asleep? What did you eat today? I typed out messages like these, only to delete them. I felt like I was going crazy. I pushed myself, finishing the project as quickly as possible, and flew back just in time for Grace's birthday. As soon as I arrived home, I saw the jerk and his mom again. They were bothering Grace incessantly. Grace's future boyfriend couldn't stand it anymore. I got out of my car, walked to Grace's car, and tapped on her window. Grace, for your birthday, you only invited your best friend. Did you ever consider that this is quite neglectful of your boyfriend? Grace's eyes widened in shock. I knew she was captivated by me, just as I was captivated by her. Sure enough, she soon looked at me, smiling. Sweetheart, it was my fault for neglecting you. How do you want me to make it up to you? Grace opened the car door and followed me to my house. The moment the door closed, a spring breeze seemed to blow into the cool-toned room, warming my heart. I couldn't help but think, this house finally has a mistress. As for the proposal, actually, my proposal was simple. I wanted to take Grace back to Maplewood one more time, and there, I would tell her that we had actually known each other for many years. Sometimes, people just have to believe that some things are destined. Like her. Although we had drifted apart for a while, in the end, she was still destined to be my wife. Click. Interview over. The assistant was very happy. Mr. Marcus, we have satisfied the demands of our precious member. Now our stock price will surely recover. Marcus smiled helplessly. To think he, the dignified CEO of L Group, couldn't stand up to his precious member. And had to work overtime late at night to finish this interview. But I have one small request. Marcus lowered his long eyelashes. I hope my precious member can give me a thumbs up. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.